Zombies. Our culture used to be inundated with them. Minecraft had zombies, Star Wars had zombies, The Walking Dead, The Good Last of Us, and Call of Duty had zombies. Arcade games featured them, survival handbooks were written about them. Even the United States military dipped its toes into the zombie craze. The question today is, in a genre that's been so oversaturated, how can you make a good zombie game that stands out as fun and original? Easy, just grab some run-of-the-mill zombies from those old played-out settings, maybe a special infected or two for good measure, and then drop them all in the middle of a blood and iron match. The ensuing chaos is what's known to many as Guts and Blackpowder. Contrary to popular belief, I do know about this game. In fact, I've been messing around with it since last October. It wasn't right back then, but now that it's had some time in the oven, I think it's turned out to be a pretty nifty little game. Now I've got a lot of ground to cover here, so for this video, I'm going to try a less structured approach and just talk about the things I found cool and the things I found lacking. The first thing I'll say is people don't play Guts and Blackpowder for the story. I personally have an unusual appetite for rich lore in my Roblox games, which often comes more as icing on the cake rather than the bread and butter of the experience itself. For example, you don't have to know the intricacies of the Inyolan annexation of Whitecrest or the effects the Brashovian Federation's coal-burning ironclad fleet might have on interfaction politics to enjoy playing trade lands. It is, first and foremost, fun pirate game. That being said, the lore of Guts and Blackpowder, nebulous as it is, has little to no effect on the gameplay experience. So, how is the gameplay experience? If I had to describe it in one word, I'd say frantic. And I mean that in the best way possible. This game will have you on the edge of your seat, straining every neuron in your brain to hold out against the impossible odds of a hopeless situation, fighting with everything you have to hold back the unending legions of the undead while your comrades fall all around you and join the horde. This desperation pays off once, when all hope seems lost, you break through the lines and escape, living to fight another day. That's the objective game modes anyway. The endless maps are basically just COD zombies without most of the good parts of COD zombies. Guts and Blackpowder has 7 classes to play as. Each brings something unique and viable to the table, so much so that this is one of the few games where I actually enjoy playing as a support class. First up,
I got it! Yeah!
Your standard run-of-the-mill line infantry soldier comes with standard run-of-the-mill line infantry equipment. A long gun with some pointy steel on the end, a sword for close quarters engagements, the works. While the line infantryman is a perfectly capable default class, he really shines for me as an assassin. You'll understand better when I talk about the zombies later, but it's advantageous to eliminate certain special infected before they're close enough to become a problem. And for that, the lineman's got you covered. The musket's accuracy and penetration allow you to take down targets that are far away or 5 bodies deep in a horde. His alternative primary, the carbine, loses the bayonet and some damage for the sake of reload speed, making for a more mobile build.
Tell me about Ohio.
Officers are like infantrymen who went to business school and traded their guns for a high persuasion stat. That's not to say they don't get a gun. They're issued this little pea shooter, which is mostly for show. But officers are supposed to be leaders who take charge and command the enlisted troglodytes. Of course, they have no real authority, but their consolation prize is a charge ability that gives players around them a temporary movement and swing speed buff while increasing bayonet damage threefold. Keep in mind that the charge effect does not make you invincible. When it's active, zombies can't grab you. While this ensures that they won't interrupt your charge, it also means that they will exclusively try to bludgeon you to death, as many overconfident players have discovered the hard way.
See this? This is my boomstick!
If you aren't satisfied with simply surviving the apocalypse and want to enact total zombie death, then the Seaman is right for you. His arsenal includes anti-piracy small arms like the blunderbuss, a large-bore scattergun that can shred several enemies in one blast, and the knock gun, which is essentially 7 muskets welded together so that they could all be fired at once. The trade-off for deleting all signs of life in a given cardinal direction is an atrociously long reload time. If you were a malnourished, scurvy-ridden sailor on a Royal Navy vessel in real life, and you had the misfortune of being issued this weapon, there is a very real chance that the mere act of firing it would shatter the bones in your shoulder. Musicians are probably the most chill class in the game. Maybe you want to take a break from the desperate fighting and the constant bloodshed and the chaos of the apocalypse and just belt out some dope tunes. Whether you got a fife, a drum, or a bugle, you can sit on the sidelines and play to your heart's content while your comrades get eaten alive in the background. And the best part is, nobody will tell you to put your silly woodwind down and join the fight, because if they do, they'd be depriving you of the only thing that makes you special. I don't know if the effects of musicians playing the same instrument stack, but I don't think a team needs more than one of these anyway.
I solve practical problems.
If you were a Blood and Iron player, and you opened a door to find this fellow waiting for you on the other side, axe at the ready, you'd have no choice but to contemplate your life mistakes for the last couple seconds that you can enjoy it. If you were a zombie and busted down a door to see the same thing, you wouldn't even have time to recall your life as an undead menace, because the Sapper axes and Guts and Blackpowder kill in one shot. The Sapper is mainly a defensive class though, and it's much more useful when building and repairing barricades than when fighting. Every team needs at least 1 or 2 Sappers. I am tired of dying because everyone thought it'd be too much work to swing a hammer a few times. Get on it.
I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon!
I think that the Surgeon is hands down the most fun class to play as. You don't have to worry about reloads or shot placement because your only weapon is your saber. You can be on the front lines, helping to hold back the horde while your team completes the objective, or you can take some time to heal up your comrades and distribute bandages to increase survivability. The only downside to being a surgeon is the fact that they make you heal 50 people to get a certain badge, so most servers are full of them and they all swarm around injured players like the seagulls in Finding Nemo.
Mine.
Okay, don't make any sudden moves.
Also, in order to heal someone, the target player needs to unequip any weapons. This isn't really translated well in the message they get, so you'll probably have to chase your patients around and yell at them for a while before you can patch them up. Using rags you scavenge off the rotting corpses of the undead as bandages seems like a bad idea, but I don't get any complaints. Chaplains are the only class with an unlock requirement. Once you get the Soldier's Grace badge, you can go to a seminary and wear some righteous bling. Chaplains aren't built for combat. Rather, they can use their crucifix to repel zombies within a certain radius and bless their teammates to cure infections. If left untreated, infected players can turn to zombies behind friendly lines and cause a lot of headaches. The zombies of Guts and Blackpowder come in 5 classes. First, your garden variety Shamblers. They're slightly slower than players, have a moderate amount of health, and only pose a real threat in large numbers. Shamblers can punch a player for a small amount of damage or grab one to lock him in place. When grabbed by a single Shambler, a player will be able to free himself without assistance after so many seconds. As more and more pile up though, he won't last long before succumbing to the horde. Runners are basically hunters from Left 4 Dead. They're considerably faster than players and will tackle unwary soldiers to the ground, killing them in seconds. Runners are very weak and can be easily killed by timing your swing right. Bombers wear red shirts and carry with them a powder keg and a torch. When they reach a player, they'll light the keg and explode once the fuse burns down, killing zombies and players alike while destroying Sapper barricades. The bomb can be triggered prematurely if shot or stabbed by a player, so keep your distance if you want to set it off. Bombers notably follow Islam, and are therefore unaffected by the Chaplain's crucifix ability. Sapper zombies, or zappers, are slower than the other zombies, but make up for it with their tanky health and powerful attack. Using their axe, zappers can destroy barricades quickly and kill players in just 2 hits. Fun fact, when most players fall to infection, they rise again as runner zombies, but when a sapper meets the same fate, he turns into a sapper zombie. Finally, we have igniters, which were scrawny Antifa rioters before they turned. These zombies will lob a lantern that functions as a Molotov cocktail, burning everything in the splash area except for the igniters themselves. This disincentivizes players to camp in a corner all game. Guts and Blackpowder feature 7 maps. The first 2, Hougoumont and La Ferme de Hout, are exclusively used for the wave-based endless game mode. They start with weakened Shamblers and sprinkle in other types as the rounds go on. You play until you die. I find the objective-based maps to be much more entertaining, but since the script is already 6 pages long, I'm not going to get into all of them. San Sebastian's my favorite. Not only is it the longest, but it also has the most variety when it comes to objectives and stands out as the only map that takes place during the daytime. The Halloween event map, Sleepy Hollow, is also pretty cool. I hadn't pegged G&B for a boss fight type of game, but they pull it off really well with the Headless Horseman. Also, you get to play as the US Marines, which is just awesome. The entire Halloween update is pretty substantial. They added an item store and in-game currency, an entire new map and game mode, and put 2 new playable classes into public servers. From what I can tell, the dev team is very active when it comes to balancing, bug fixing, and adding new content. Honestly, one of my favorite things about Guts and Blackpowder is how it sticks with the theme. Everything in the game builds on its unique premise to give you an experience like no other. Nowhere is this more obvious than with the music and sound design. All of the sound effects feel appropriate and fit in the bleak setting, the music that plays when you get grabbed, pinned, or infected is scary and effective, and the custom voice acting for the NPCs is top notch, even incorporating foreign accents and languages. All of the chaos and desperation of a match comes to a head in the final act, where classical music swells in the background to set the stage for the epic finale. Not only does this ground the player in the setting, but it also manages to use these historical pieces that you've heard countless times in a way that actually works for a situation that you would never otherwise associate them with. Catacombs of Paris is my favorite example. You spend 90% of the map fighting through dark, claustrophobic tunnels underneath the city, and then at the very end, your team emerges on the surface and has to hold off a seemingly unstoppable horde while the citizens are evacuated. As the situation becomes more dire, the lightning flashes, illuminating the unending legions of zombies running towards their meager defenses. As your hope dwindles, 1812 Overture begins to play, the violins adding to the tension. Things are getting worse. The horde is beginning to gain momentum as your team is gradually being overwhelmed. Then, the bells, trumpets, and cymbals come in. Even as you're losing ground, you feel triumphant. Finally, as the last of the carriages is evacuated, the fast-paced famous part kicks in to let you know that you only need to last a little bit longer for salvation. It reaches a fever pitch just as the boat arrives under the bridge. The zombies have all but pushed you into the river, and you have to leap toward the dark waters below during the final crescendo, leaving the dead and dying to their fate in the blood-soaked streets of Paris. This is peak gameplay, and I love it. Other than that, the art direction is really good. The illustrated thumbnails, badges, and icons keep with a unique and consistent art style, with some tasteful holdfast references sprinkled in for good measure. You know how I love my little mechanics and features, and Guts and Blackpowder has some pretty cool ones. First up, the gore. You can chop off limbs and slice open torsos to reveal bones and flesh underneath. When a surgeon heals someone, the bandages, stitches, and clamps they apply will remain on the third-person model of that player for the rest of the round. If you fall from any significant height and don't land on a hay bale, you're going to break your legs and start screaming. This is the point where you learn that the hunger of the undead is surpassed only by the bloodlust of your teammates, and you'll certainly be executed without a second's hesitation by your nearest comrade. They don't even let you get a word out. It's crazy. Now that I've been gushing about this game for however many minutes, it's time to bring up some of the problems I had. Firstly, the lighting system in Guts and Blackpowder ranks among the worst I've ever seen. Every single shadow is totally, utterly pitch black. Catacombs of Paris might have a banger ending, but in order to get there, you have to slog through miles of inky blackness, swinging your sword constantly to check if there's a zombie in front of you. This problem is only slightly mitigated by turning the in-game brightness up, and you better make sure you set it back before you start a round on San Sebastian. The server browser is present. It's not the worst one I've ever seen, but the naming convention for the servers is annoying, and it'd be nice to be able to filter and order them based on location, game mode, etc. I don't want to end this review on a negative note, so I'll wrap it up by saying this. Almost every item and mechanic in Guts and Blackpowder is ripped straight from Blood and Iron, then vastly improved upon. The swords are like Blood and Iron swords, except they don't break your model, and the attack directions actually have a reason to exist. The cannons come with the same tools and ammo, but the animations are smoother and the models and sounds are sleeker. It's very easy to transfer from that game to this one, and I think that's one of the main reasons that it became so popular. In conclusion, Guts and Blackpowder is an incredible game. It's still not fully mature yet, but it's making steady progress, and the content that is there is more than enough to impress me. As they add more maps for replayability and improve quality of life aspects like the lighting and UI, I think this game will shape up to be one of the best Roblox has to offer, and for that, I am proud to bestow upon Guts and Blackpowder an unshakable 9 out of 10. Hey guys, Editing Skit here. This video has been a doozy. I'm not exaggerating when I say that animated intro took 15 days to make. As you can probably tell, based on the date of upload, I don't think we're going to be having a horror mega review this season. Maybe if some of the games are good enough, I'll start making these little micro horror game reviews on them, but, you know, it is what it is. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, have a safe Halloween, and make sure to enjoy yourselves. Alright, see ya.